Well, he was going more into the insanity aspects. So I think you would have seen something a little darker than what we've seen in the past and more into the individual, who's inside Batman, what element may be sane and what element actually may not be sane. So he was entering into a little more of the Arkham, and it's like, he's going into where you keep everyone who's bad, everyone that's shifted, and Batman. So that whole aspect was very fascinating.
After the conclusion of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, many fans would begin to wonder what the next on-screen iteration of the character would be like. Director Zack Snyder would eventually answer this question with the reveal of Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman v Superman. This new Batman was unlike any of the other live-action versions we've seen. He was much older, more experienced, and clearly more violent.
"'Tis but a scratch."
This was a new and fresh imagining of the character, one that had years of untapped history to explore. That's why Warner Brothers signed Ben Affleck on to write, star, and direct his own Batman film, a film that would have explored Batman's inner psyche while attempting to fight off his most formidable opponent yet. Unfortunately, due to several circumstances, the film would be cancelled, with Warner Brothers moving forward with a new reboot set outside the DC cinematic universe. Let's explore the history of this unmade Batman film and why it was cancelled in the end. After the announcement of Batman v Superman, Warner Brothers president Kevin Tsujihara would announce 10 new DC films in development. Among these 10 films would also include a new Superman film, but also a series of new Batman films as well. It's likely that Affleck was cast not only because he fit in with Zack Snyder's vision, but also because Warner wanted him to helm the next series of Batman films within this new universe. Ben Affleck was a renowned and Oscar-winning writer and director known for working on many acclaimed projects. It was clear that the Batman property was in very good hands. Production for this new Batman film would begin after Ben Affleck was done directing his passion project, Live by Night. Despite Affleck being preoccupied by a different film, the Batman would still move forward in terms of development, and Affleck would team up with famous comic writer Jeff Johns, who would be brought on as a co-writer for the project. Production for the film seemed to be going well at the time. In fact, according to Ben Affleck's agent, Patrick Whitesell, Ben Affleck had written a very cool Batman idea. On April 12th of 2016, at CinemaCon, Walter Hamada would officially announce that Ben Affleck would star, write, and direct his standalone Batman film. At this point in time, there was no official release dates for the film, but we can infer that the studio was aiming for at least a 2018 to 2020 release window. Affleck himself states that Warner Brothers did have a date set for the film, but he did not know if he could make that date because, again, there was no script ready yet. 4 months later in July, Affleck states that there was no Batman film ready yet to move into production, as him and Warner were still developing the script and trying to figure out the budget.
The movie, there is no Batman movie happening yet. We're still trying to figure it out, so get the script and budget and all that stuff.
The production of this film seemed to be taking a heavy toll on Ben Affleck, as he seemed genuinely annoyed and frustrated every time someone asked him about the film.
My God, it's such a pain in the ass. It's like every time I mention Batman, it gets this huge, clickbait. When I was doing this movie, it took me 2 years to get it together, but nobody ever asked me, where's Live by Night? They asked me, it's Batman, Batman, Batman. It's one of those things that's really frustrating because, with Live by Night, it took me a year and a half to write it and get it ready, and I worked really hard, and it's just nobody gave it. No one was like, where's Live by Night?
Right, yeah, right.
It was Batman. I keep on getting, they're like, where's the Batman?
Batman.
Bro, I'm working. Give me a second. It's not that I'm in a hurry or not hurry. That's also on my plate right now is Batman. That's what I'm working on, trying to get the script right and just trying to get going.
Well, that's the idea. The idea is that there's no movie, yet. It's not a movie, but there is the plan to make a Batman movie.
It was clear that Affleck was not enjoying working on the film like he did prior, and the stress of working on such a high-tier franchise was becoming emotionally draining. On January 30th of 2017, Deadline reports that Ben Affleck had officially stepped down from directing the project. However, he'd still star in the film, and him and Warner were currently seeking a new director for the film. After receiving a rewrite from writer Chris Terrio, Warner and Affleck were reportedly happy about this new draft, and with multiple high-caliber directors in talks to take over the project, it seemed like Ben Affleck's Batman film was in very good hands. However, there was still an aura of uncertainty surrounding the film's development. Sure, there were reports that the film was loved, but there was also rumors claiming that Affleck's Batman was set to undergo major rewrites or a complete overhaul entirely once a new director and creative team were brought in. The former was likely true, as when Matt Reeves was brought on to direct, he stated that he loved what Ben Affleck had to offer, but he just could not connect with what was present. Matt Reeves would pitch his own idea on how to approach the film. Reeves was fully okay with crafting a Batman film with Affleck in the lead role, but just not an adaptation of the original script, but a new version of the story that would take Batman on an emotional journey, one that involved him uncovering Gotham's hidden corruption that would tie back to his own family legacy.
I said that I really wanted to do a story that put Batman as a character at the center of the arc. But I would love to do something where you take an imperfect Batman and give him a story, a detective story, go back to the noir sort of elements, the Bob Kane, the Bill Finger stuff, and then find a way to have that story take him on a journey that sort of, sort of reveals the corruption, the history of the city, but ends up doubling back and becoming very personal and talking about the origins that we don't see, so that it became something that could rock him and that his character could have an awakening.
However, while it's true that Reeves likely worked with Affleck early on, there's a huge possibility that Affleck himself was not sure if he wanted to continue playing the character in general. First of all, Ben Affleck, in an interview with USA Today, stated that he was trying to find a way to gracefully leave the role, and his involvement in Matt Reeves' Batman film was something he was contemplating. Variety, in an article months later, would state that it was highly unlikely that Ben Affleck would return for the film. The idea that Ben Affleck had already left the role at this point was later backed up by Casey Affleck in an interview.
He's not going to do that movie, I don't think.
Breaking
Sorry to
news.
say.
You've broken. You
Is
broke my heart.
that breaking news? I was just kind of making that up.
I will take it. I heard it from Casey.
Finally, on January 30th of 2019, Ben Affleck officially stepped down as Batman, stating that he had tried his best to craft this Batman film, but no longer had the energy or passion to continue with the film. With Ben Affleck's exit from the film, Matt would rework his idea for the film. Instead of Affleck's Batman, this new film would now feature a Year 2 Batman set outside the DCEU. When crafting this Batman film, Ben Affleck wanted to embrace many unexplored elements of the Batman mythos. Ben really wanted to explore the world's greatest detective elements of the character, with Batman's detective work playing a bigger role in this film than in other Batman films before it. Affleck also wanted to take the film in a much darker direction and embrace the more psychological aspects of the character's mythos, elements such as the duality between Bruce Wayne and Batman, and how they both intertwined and affect each other. This is primarily why Arkham Asylum served as a huge location for the film. Not only is it a classic Batman locale, but it often serves as a backdrop to really test Batman's mental fortitude and question whether he's truly insane. Arkham Asylum has been used in many classic Batman stories, such as Batman Arkham Asylum, Serious House on Serious Earth, Batman Sinister Arkham, and Batman The Last Arkham. Arkham Asylum is clearly a massively popular element within the Batman mythos, so the idea that it would be a major part of Ben's film excited many fans. According to Matt Reeves himself, Affleck's Batman film would have been highly action-centric, with many major set pieces, which Matt described as James Bondian in nature. According to artist Jay Olivia, Ben Affleck's The Batman was the greatest Batman script he's ever read, and fans were going to love what Ben had in store. The story of this film would have taken heavy inspiration from stories like The Game and Daredevil Born Again, stories that involve a protagonist whose lives are systematically destroyed by an unstoppable force. They must use their wits, limited resources, and allies to fight back against an enemy they have almost no hope of winning against. However, once they persevere, they come out changed, much better men than they were originally. In Ben Affleck's The Batman, this unforeseen and ultimate threat would have been Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello, or Joe Mango Yellow.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
A character Ben Affleck would reveal early on in a camera test posted on his Twitter account. Deathstroke was originally portrayed as a Teen Titans villain, but he possessed many qualities that would make him a perfect adversary for Batman. His intellect, planning, and skill can rival the Caped Crusader himself, depending on which version you're referring to. Affleck wanted Deathstroke to be the most formidable opponent Batman has ever faced, finally coming across an adversary that would push him to his very limits. Joe Mango Yellow describes Deathstroke as an almost horror movie type villain who systematically destroys Bruce Wayne's life from the inside out. One of the ways Deathstroke accomplishes this is by ruining Bruce Wayne's position within his company by destroying his finances and assets. It's clear that Deathstroke is incredibly resourceful and tech-savvy, so if Batman tried to investigate him using the Batcomputer, Deathstroke would likely realize this and in turn gain access to Batman's personal files and data. Now, if Batman wants to protect his personal information and data from people trying to spy on him, then he should use a VPN to protect himself while browsing the internet. That's why I'd love to give a big thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Like how Batman disappears into the shadows, Surfshark is a virtual private network that allows users to encrypt their data and information, concealing their location and actions from people who may be trying to gain access to their information. Surfshark allows you to be virtually anywhere around the world, so some region-locked content can be easily accessed just by changing your location. Surfshark is one of the best ways to keep your online presence private, and with over 3,200 servers, over 65 countries, you can always find a server for every situation. And the best part, Surfshark is available on several platforms and is the only privacy product that allows for unlimited simultaneous connections. If you want to support me and my content, get Surfshark today by clicking on the link in the description and use my promo code FIST to get 83% off and 3 extra months for free. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get into the story of this unmade film. The story of Ben Affleck's Batman would have centered on Deathstroke hunting down Batman, who he deemed as responsible for the death of his son Jericho. Deathstroke would begin his plan by destroying many of Batman's resources, such as the Batcave, his penthouse, and stripping Bruce Wayne of his fortune. While Bruce's life begins to crumble, he would begin investigating Deathstroke to figure out his true identity and motive. At some point in the film, Batman would visit Arkham Asylum. It's unknown what role the location played in the film, but Batman likely goes there to confront Deathstroke, who has freed many inmates at the facility. Batman becomes trapped within the asylum and is forced to fight many of the villains he's locked up over the years. At some point, Deathstroke would leave the asylum, preparing to enact the next phase of his plan. Batman is now physically exhausted and almost has no energy to go on. However, breaking Batman physically and stripping him of his resources were only the appetizers to his revenge. Deathstroke's ultimate way of destroying Batman was by attacking his heart. Deathstroke begins systematically killing off all of Batman's loved ones and allies, which would have likely included Jim Gordon and, most importantly, Alfred. At this point, Batman would become enraged and once again embrace the murderous persona we saw him go through in Batman v Superman. Batman would now relentlessly pursue Deathstroke in order to kill him. The climax would take place in the streets of Gotham. Batman, who is likely still injured from his last battle, would engage in a fight with Deathstroke. The fight is intense and action-packed. Affleck took major inspiration from the Arkham Origins cinematic trailer to help craft how these two characters would combat each other. However, unlike the trailer, Batman is completely outclassed by Deathstroke. His speed, strength, and skill is unlike anything he's ever seen before, and due to his anger, Batman is not as focused as he could be. Batman has never faced anyone who could match him in skill, and even becomes terrified of Deathstroke. Luckily, Batgirl joins in and helps Batman fight Deathstroke, ending in his eventual defeat. There is no definitive answer for why the film was cancelled, but we can speculate based off the limited info we have available. For one thing, according to Robert Richardson, the script for the film was not a love script, as Ben constantly tried to change it. This either meant that Affleck himself thought the script was not adequate, or just did not fit in with what Warner Brothers or Jeff Johns wanted. The second likely reason Ben left the project was due to his enthusiasm on playing the part. We have to remember that this film was being written during the entire Justice League debacle, so the drama surrounding the production and Zack Snyder's exit from the universe likely severely damaged his enthusiasm for the role. The critical and commercial failure of Ben's passion project, Live by Night, also may have damaged Ben's enthusiasm regarding the quality of his directing. At the time of the film's development, Affleck was currently in the process of divorcing his longtime wife, Jennifer Garner, a process that was emotionally draining for him. Ben Affleck was also battling his own demons at the time, having to go through therapy to deal with his alcohol abuse. While all these events were taking place, the pressure of creating a Batman film was clearly destroying his mental state. It got to the point where the director would drink himself to death if he kept going with the film. According to one of Ben Affleck's friends in an interview, the cancellation of Ben's film had more to do with self-preservation and the feeling that he could not live up to the expectations fans placed upon him.